We are once again flying with Tway, a budget carrier based out of Korea. With a lackluster experience in the regional product, I'm stepping on board this guy for the next 9 hours with hopefully better results. Does the transfer experience in Seoul make up for the onboard service, and should you consider them for your next flight across the Pacific? Come along and let's find out. Good evening and welcome back to another video. I just landed in Seoul, Incheon, and I'm connecting onwards to Vancouver with Tway. It was in early 2025 that they started flying to North America, and they chose Vancouver to be their introductory city. Of course, I welcome the increased options and connections to Canada, and I've been looking forward to this flight for the past few months. We'll be flying on one of their A330s, which is a new way for me to cross the Pacific, as usually we fly the Dreamliner and 777. The flight is set to depart at 9:20 p.m, so come along as we go from A to B, and let's enjoy an overnight flight to Vancouver. It took an hour since I landed from my inbound flight from Tokyo to make my way through the various hallways and security, before being spit out back into the gate side of Terminal 1. One thing that surprised me was Tway offering complimentary lounge access free of charge for connecting passengers out of ICN. Maybe this is a start to a better experience than my previous flight. It's worthwhile to check Tway's website for such promotions, and I had the option of using the coupon at either the Sky Hub or Matina Lounge. The Sky Hub, being the closest to me with no line, was the winner this evening. Now granted, the lounge was more like a cafeteria than a quiet, relaxing airline lounge, but with a decent warm offering of fried rice, beef, delicious fried chicken, and the cold bar including pasta, potato salads, and a salad bar. Who am I to complain? There was also cookies, breads, and sandwiches, so a good selection overall. And of course they had tteokbokki, my personal favorite, which I healthily enjoyed. For a couple hours to recharge the batteries, grab a bite to eat, something to drink, and reset for the next flight, the lounge served us well. Now the Sky Hub doesn't have showers, but right across the hall outside there are, providing a discount to connecting passengers. For 7,000 won, or about $6, this was a no-brainer. The facilities were nice and clean with basic soap and shampoo.
Best $6 I spent all year.
Alright, so that's not a bad little transfer. Got something to eat, okay lounge, shower's fantastic, and now we're off to gate 110. One thing to know if you're transferring through Incheon, which I've done several times in the past, is if you're at the concourse, you can only go one direction, so it's best to do everything you want in the terminal and then take the train over just before you board. Today we're departing from gate 110, and we arrived with some time before boarding began. And here's our A330 getting ready for its trip across the Pacific. Boarding got underway on time, and like many budget carriers, there's no groups or zones when it comes to boarding, and somehow it worked perfectly fine. As we make our way to the plane, I'll take this moment to welcome new viewers to the channel, and I invite you to subscribe for continued aviation and travel related content, where you can check out WestJet's Trans-Pacific product at roughly the same price as this flight. Let me know which you would choose. We'll be seated in 35H, the second last row of the plane. We managed to push back at 9:50 p.m, 30 minutes behind schedule due to some baggage loading issues. Today we're on one of Tway's Airbus's A330-200 aircraft, one of 6 in their fleet. Our plane is 14 years old, first being delivered to Korean Air in 2011, before being leased out to Tway in 2024. The plane has 264 seats across 2 classes, with 9 lavatories on board. We'll have a flight time of 9 hours and 17 minutes to reach Vancouver tonight. Once we were up in the air, the first of 2 meal services began. With the delay, this was at about 11 p.m, so about 4 hours after our stop in the lounge. The options were a bibimbap or pork chop steak. There were no announcements about the meals, and they just told you the options when they got to you, so you gotta make a decision in a quick moment. Meals come with a cup of water and nothing else. The meal itself was not bad. The pork chop was tender, cooked nicely with a savory, not spicy pepper sauce. The beans had a healthy green and were not overcooked. The mashed potatoes were okay, but something was going on with them. They were a bit sweet, not a flavor component you think of with mashed potatoes. It was only after they cleared the meals did they come through for the buy on board service for individuals wishing to purchase drinks and snacks. Like in the previous video, the cart comes pretty fast, so if you want something you kinda have to be on the ball. After the meal service, the lights were turned off and it was time to turn in for the evening, where I managed 4 hours of on and off sleep. Alright, let's talk the hard product. I would like to preface this by saying the cabin we see here is not the same as shown on the website, but we'll work with what we got. As mentioned from the scouting report, the plane is leased from Korean Air. The seats are grey in a 2-4-2 seating configuration in a nondescript off-white cabin interior. For economy, the rear of the plane is my choice because the seats narrow to a 2-2-2 configuration for the last few rows, providing a bit more wiggle room. Seats come with an adjustable headrest, but they're not the best economy seats in the world, but certainly not the worst, just your standard old style seat. Tway gets the award for perhaps the most signs and stickers on the Seatback at over half a dozen. Besides the coat hook on top, there's an old IFE screen which is taped up and not operational. And the same goes for the remote, except for the light and call buttons can be used. The seatback table has a single cup holder, which I thought is a beneficial feature, and under the table is a seat pocket, which contains a safety card, the in-flight menu which we looked at earlier, the duty-free catalog, and their in-flight and National Geographic dual publication magazine. Seat pictures advertised as 32 inches, 2 to 3 inches more than the regional 737 aircraft, which I thought was generous for a budget carrier. There is one outlet under the seat, which is an old style one, and you can see the plastic semicircle component on the bottom. It does pose a challenge for a cell phone charger, and I needed my 3 to 2 pronged adapter to make it work. Just an FYI. And above you have access to the reading light, which can be accessed from the remote. Overall, the hard product is nothing special. It's old, dated, and showing its age. Honestly, with the old plane, old seat, bland interior, if no one had a smartphone, you'd think we were flying in the 90s. All I would really need is the movie projected on the bulkhead to complete the 90s flying experience. I guess those were the days. And here's a look at the rear lavatory. The only update to the interior that I could find was the use of LED lighting, both here and in the cabin. And something that doesn't exist too much nowadays is the air control in the washroom, and that's something you won't find above your seat. With the last 2 hours to go, the next meal was served. The options were a bulgogi or a pasta, and again, it came with a cup of water. I went with the pasta and it was definitely nothing special. It was bland and the American cheese really didn't add anything to it. No idea how Homer Simpson ate 64 slices of it. I should have gone with the Korean option, no doubt. But being tired and jet lagged, now poor decision making was now a thing. Of course I did my best to ensure zero food waste. Like the first meal service, it was quick, and once everything was cleared, then they came around with the buy on board cart. Overall, I found Tway's experience, nothing special. If anything, dated. I'd say the onboard service is sterile, prescriptive, and something to be done to check it off a list and nothing more. As I mentioned in the previous video, the website is clunky, sometimes it worked, sometimes it doesn't. I did enjoy and value their offer of lounge access for connecting passengers in Incheon, so I think they have things going for them in the airport. Further refinement of the check-in process, website design, and onboard service will help Tway in the long run and improve the guest experience. To be frank, I found Jetstar's international long-haul service more pleasant, if you can believe that. If you are choosing to fly Tway, I would suggest to come prepared, grab some water, drinks, snacks, whatever in the airport before jumping on board, and you'll thank yourself for doing so. When flying budget carriers, it all comes down to price, and with Zip Air Tokyo and WestJet via Calgary offering competitive prices to Vancouver, I would shop around before flying with WestJet again on this route. But they did get us here safely, and I really appreciated the lounge and layover experience in Seoul. The price of this one-way ticket from Tokyo to Vancouver via Seoul came out to 52,521 yen, and we offset 323 kilograms of CO2. Total carbon offsets can be found in the channel's About page. Thanks for watching. Let me know your thoughts on Tway's long-haul product, and I'll catch you in the next video.